that are predominant in Nepal. Now, if you look at the hierarchical system of this, like in the previous slide, as I said, that the biomedicine is the predominant system. So not just in the presence or in their number, but also in resources, in their institutional volume, and their influence over the policymakers. In every way, the biomedicine is predominant. So the slides, as you look at the slide, the size of the tree, they are big. They have been influencing the sector. Another after that comes the traditional medicine system, usually the Unani, Ayurveda, and other systems where there is a certain presence of there. They are present in the government level also in the local community also. There are around 381, more than 381 at present Ayurveda and Unani institutions and homeopathic institutions. In case of folk medicines or the traditional healers or all those indigenous healers, no actual data is available, but it is estimated that 4 to 8 lakh healers, that is 400,000 to 800,000 healers, are present throughout Nepal who are practicing in nearly, if you look in every nook and corner, in every small congregation of houses, you will find a healer or two there. If you look at the small uh, local bodies, you'll find nearly in every ward or every block of houses, you'll find some healers there. So the actual estimate is not available. Neither the government have the data nor the private sector doing research on these sectors have the actual data of the number of indigenous healers or the local healers, traditional healers, those who are practicing there. But roughly 400,000 to 800,000 healers are present in Nepal at present practicing. Now, what are the traditional healers? Institutionalized and legitimized branch or the part. Another is non-codified, non-institutionalized, and non-legitimized. Now we need to differentiate this. Why it is codified? Because it represents the textual tradition, like Ayurveda, Unani, Swarikpa, Yoga, naturopathy. They have their own text. They have their own books, written books on the basis of which they practice, they learn, they study. It is institutionalized. There are universities that offer degrees there, and it is also legitimized because the government has given have legalized their presence. They have recognized this system of practices. Another one is the non-codified. They do not. It is usually propagated through oral traditions on the basis of Guru Shishya Parampara. From teachers, it goes to the students, and similarly, the tradition continues. And it is one of the most diverse health traditions. It includes those traditional herbal healers that are there, that those who have been practicing in various villages in those rural areas. There are faith healers who have been doing those things. There are bone setting. This bone setting is a very nice uh, and an interesting health traditions. Like there are various researches done by foreigners who have done research on bone settings. Another is poison healing, the use of poisonous medicines to heal. These are also those things. And traditional midwifery. This is a very common practice in Nepal, where we have traditional midwives who look after those pregnant ladies who do not have access to the biomedical or established institutional birthing centers and hospitals, and these traditional midwives are the one who address those needs in those society. Another is folk massage. This is also another popular and traditional Newari massage that is done in the postpartum stages, has also been recognized by the Swiss government, and they have included there in the nursing courses. So these are all the things. Those are the types of medical systems that are prevalent in Nepal, especially the traditional medical systems. One is codified, another is non-codified. Codified institutional legitimized system is very easy to regulate because they have their own governing body, but non-codified, non-institutionalized, this sector is difficult to organize because we do not have any authentic data about them. Neither we have been able to document them in any way, their practices, their theories, or any other thing. Now, this is just an overview how diverse Nepal is on the traditional medical system. This is just an example of individual, some societies, some ethnic groups where they have their own healers or they say their own doctors based on their principles. For example, of those are we have Dhami. These are shamanism. They do shamanism, Zakri, Zadfuke, Fukfuke. Another word used for them is Janne Manche, Pandit, Jyotish, Sureni, Mata, Vaidya Amche. And The other examples are specific to certain communities. Like there is an ethnic group in the Tarai region of Nepal, that are Tharu. They have their own healers. They are known as Gurua or Gurua. Another, if in Musohar community, it is the Ozha. They have this own healer there. The Gurung community has Koju. In Newar, there are Gubaju, Dioma, and Diobaju. Similarly, in Tamang, there are Lama, Mongbo. Now the Tamang community usually is very interesting. The Tamang shamanism, the way they treat their the passage with using various mantras and tantra is one of the most studied traditional medicines, and actually those studies are usually done by foreign researchers, and very less work has been done by our own Nepali researchers. In case of Lepcha, we have Bumthing. In Khammagar, there is Arma or Rama. In Jiral, there is Fombo. Fedangma, Samba, and Yabayama in Rai and Limbu, and Pandey and Fa in Chepang. These are just a few examples of the different traditions or traditional healers, indigenous healers in different ethnic societies in Nepal. Now, these are some pictures of those non-codified indigenous practice. This is a picture showing local massage therapy where they use the paste of various herbs for different kinds of ailments. Another is just the use of medicinal herbs. This is very common practice in Nepal. Like if you tell a rural person, okay, I'm an Ayurved, okay, I'm going to give you Ayurvedic medicine, they usually don't understand the word Ayurveda. If you tell, okay, I'm giving you something made from medicinal plants or jari buti, they understand those things. So this is how medicinal plants or jari buti in our terms has been used in our society, and its penetration in the grassroots levels, in the lower, in the rural village, it's still prevalent. Faith healings, like you can see on the left hand side, the mantras, those are written there. We have faith healers and use of mantras for various treatment modalities. Another is faith healing, use of amulets, pulse reading. Using these amulets that has been made powerful, or that has been purified by using various herbs and mantra there. So these kind of various kinds of traditional systems are prevalent in Nepal, and it's still under practice. But due to the apathy of the government policies, or due to the lack of their sharing or their penetration in the society, this system is gradually fading away. For example, this on the left hand side, you can see the traditional midwife who is arranging the posture of the fetus in the womb of the woman. Another, you can see the traditional massage system that is done there. Now, why is traditional medicine so important? Why are we focusing on traditional medicine nowadays? This is this is important because biomedical sciences are inaccessible. It is not the ruler and the poor do not have direct access to the modern system of medicines, and various kinds of uh, uh, other problems like it's expensive, it's inaccessible, and these things have made the WHO, the governing body, to incorporate traditional medicines. So what do they say? We started by health for all by 2000. It could not be achieved. Then we went on to Millennium Development Goal. That also was very hard to achieve. A certain degree we were able to achieve, but certain things we could not achieve. So we further went into Sustainable Development Goals. So these are the three things. And WHO has also, time and again, they have changed their traditional medicine strategy, and they revised the traditional medicine uh, strategy in 2014 for the for another decade to 223. Then what does that say? It says that the the traditional medicine strategy says that unless traditional medicine system is not incorporated into the main healthcare delivery system, universal health coverage cannot be achieved. So it has to be incorporated. That is the main thing. Another thing is that you have to strengthen the quality of the traditional medicine system. Its quality of service, safety, proper use, and effectiveness has to be attained. Another thing is that it has to build a knowledge base for all those things. These are the three strategies WHO traditional medicine strategy has proposed, the three different strategies. And another thing that this is a quote from a research paper, which says making good use of indigenous medicine might be the best strategy for achieving universal health coverage. So even the governing body of the health, that is the WHO, had also proposed that traditional medicine, until it is not incorporated into the mainstream delivery system, the goal of health for all or universal health coverage cannot be achieved. So traditional medicine is very important at the present context. Now, why is traditional medicine so important? Because it is accessible, as it is. The main thing, it is accessible. It is easy to obtain. It is easily available to the people. The healer is there in the society. The patient can uh, go to him or reach him at any time. It is acceptable. Why? Because it is a part of the culture. Something totally different. You bring something totally different and try to put it into a conservative society that is following its own tradition and spiritual values. They have their own traditional spiritual values. Then it becomes very hard to accept. But and traditional medicine is acceptable because it forms a part of the culture and tradition. It is more affordable for the local people in the local area. And another thing is that if you look at the value, like there was a research that said around 80% of the Nepalese population use traditional medicines in one way or another to address their common illnesses or for their primary health care. So a large section of the population depends on indigenous traditional practitioners for their primary health problems. Another thing is that if we look at the number as proposed in the previous slide, there are around 4 to 8 lakhs traditional healers. So they actually outnumber the official practitioners though, of any if of all the systems put together, all those codified systems or the biomedical system together. So if we can recognize them or if we can regulate them properly and incorporate them into healthcare services to the population. Another thing is patient and practitioner relationship. They are they know the healer very well. They are comfortable with them. Then they have a very cordial relationship, and having that faith between the patient and the practitioners, it helps a lot to recover the problem. And there are many things. The diseases are also very easy to address, and no, there are very less or negligible side effects of these medicinal systems. Now, apart from that, there are certain limitations. A section has non-formal knowledge. How do you know that the knowledge is correct if it is not documented, if it is not codified? So this is one of the biggest limitations. Another thing is we do not have documentation. There are many traditional practices apart from certain codified practitioners. There are a large number of non-codified practitioners. So uh, in those cases, there is lack of documentation and sharing of knowledge is also very difficult there. Another thing is that there are chances of variation because it moves on in oral tradition in case of non-codified. There are chances of variation or changes from one generation to another when it goes. And the lack of scientific evidence, both in case of Ayurveda, Unani, and other things, where this is one of the biggest hindrance that has made it very difficult for the upcoming generation and the younger generation to accept because there are lack of scientific evidences. Another biggest hindrance or the limitation for traditional medicine is the lack of legal legitimacy and official recognitions. Certain things, those who have come to it through the codified tradition, there is this problem is not there. But apart from that, there is a large group who have been following the non-codified version. So lack of legal legitimacy and official recognition is also the limitation. Sometimes it is very difficult to communicate with other communities. Like those knowledges are very difficult to share, and sometimes it is very difficult to give it to a new community also. Now, what are the threat and challenges? The biggest threat for traditional medicine is the rapid growth of conventional medicine. With the financial backing they have, with the presence of the scientific evidences and every other thing, and the policies they have, conventional medicine is growing very fast. But as compared to that, what we have in traditional medicine, we are actually the knowledge is degrading. We are losing what we had around 50 years ago, 100 years ago. But now the the level of the knowledge, the understanding of the medicine, the understanding of the principles and everything is gradually degrading. It is because of the loss of faith of the new generation. New generations are very comfortable accepting the conventional medical system than they are in accepting the traditional medical system. Another thing is that lack of continuation by the concerned society. We have, in case of Ayurveda also, if you look inside Kathmandu Valley, there were so many Vaidyas who were practicing before, if you look back around 75 years ago. But now, if you look, there are very few numbers. A handful of practitioners are practicing. Why? Because the generation after that, they have lost interest in that, or they have stopped practicing that. That is because of the migration of their, or the loss of faith by new generation in their, in that system that have been practicing. Another biggest threat or challenge is the lack of scientific evidences as supported by. Another one more thing, when we look from a Nepal perspective, it is a lack of support from the government. The legal aspects, we do not have a very well defined law for IPR in case of traditional medicines, or we do not have any specialized policies for Ayurveda system also. Still, there are many problems there. In case of uh, other traditional systems, like we do not have anything regulating homeopathy, we do not have anything regulating Siddha and Unani. So these are the hindrance which we are facing. Another financial aspect is that we get a very less, let's say we get a drop of the budget which goes for the health sector. So these are also another is the socio-economic changes. Socio-economic changes in the society have made people to go for the conventional medicines. The people faith has shifted over that area, and the traditional medicinal system is gradually fading away. Cultural and ideological clashes. Okay, this comes with this comes the loss of faith. This comes together. We are our cultural understanding and the ideological class comes together. I believe in the system of traditional medicine, but my generations after this may not have those understanding for those things. Lack of trust to the of the concern of the by concerned community. Now, the main thing about traditional medicine knowledge is it's sharing. How do they share it? So, to bring the traditional medical system into the mainstream, they should have trust with the concerned authorities or the government agencies. But there is lack of the concerned community also with the government agencies in regulating or formulating any other things. For formulating anything related to those things. Another biggest problem we are seeing at present is biopiracy and patenting. This is a double theft. People come here, they visit researchers from outside the country come to our country. They visit the local healers, the traditional practitioners. They they document their knowledge, take away, patent them of the stolen knowledge, and this way there is a double theft. First, they is a theft of creativity and innovation or the knowledge. Another thing is that they take the right, patent right, and ultimately the owner who had the knowledge, the traditional healer is deprived of both. He's deprived of the patent things. He's also deprived of the economic benefits he may get of all of his knowledge. Another thing is the ownership. Like when it comes to a communally owned knowledge system, then who is going to take the ownership? So this is another challenges. The biggest challenge, apart from biopiracy and patenting, is intellectual property right. Intellectual property right. Obviously, we will be listening about IPR in detail in the next session. So these are the threats and challenges. Now, this is a very good example showing about the condition of in traditional medicine system and the conventional medicine system. The tree itself being the house of the monkey is about to fall down. Why? Because it has been covered or it has been attacked by a leopard who comes and sits in the tree. The traditional medical system is the monkey, and the conventional medical system is the leopard. Now the monkey has to leave away. Monkey house, or let's say its place to stay, is the tree, whereas it's not of the leopard. When it comes, it occupies that area and kicks monkey out. The same thing is happening in the developed country in case of traditional medical knowledge. A system that is not a part of our tradition comes to Nepal, overthrows the established traditional medical system, and then gain controls over all the health systems all over Nepal. So this is the scenario of traditional medical system in Nepal. Now the main thing is that we need to protect it, but why to protect? Everyone says that we need to protect the medical system, but why? First thing is that it is a question of our identity. Medical system or traditional medical system is the identity of a society. Like for in case of Tamang, if they do not have Lama, then various part of their culture fades away. So it is a part it's a question of their identity. Second is traditional knowledge is under threat. It is disappearing. This I think everyone agrees because we have been. If you look at the about the quality of the practitioners that we around, 75 years ago, and the quality
Dr.
which we
Abhisek,
have now,
Abhisek,
we see a very big
sorry
gap.
for the interruption.
Yeah.
Dr. Abhisek, can you just
Sorry.
shorten your
Okay.
presentation, please? We are running behind
Okay.
time.
I will
Uh,
start it down. Okay. I will
Thanks.
just finish it up. Now, the main thing is that what should be done? Okay. We should protect it or promote it. This is the biggest question. The main thing is that we should protect it by promoting it. Why? Because in the future, we may see these things. Wherever we go, everything might be patented. Everything in our local community will be patented. And we, as a traditional medical practitioner, we will not have access to any other things. So what should be done? We should have appropriate policies on the government level. The policies should address the appreciation of TMK, its preservation, its bringing it recognition should be there. Appropriate policies should be made. Another thing is researches on traditional medical systems should be done because we lack on scientific evidences. So if researches are done, so what are the different kinds of medical systems that are practiced in Nepal? How they can be made productive? How can they address the social and economic as well as the medical need of the society? That should be done. Another thing is that we should be able to establish traditional knowledge resource centers so we can conduct further research about all those things. Also, it can make various policies and assist the government in conducting uh, various policies. And in the conclusion, traditional medical knowledge and practices are essential to improve the health of the poor. Recognition by appropriate policies and laws is very, very necessary. Research and database is the need of the hour. We need to, first of all, make a database and like the one that has been made in India, like traditional TKDL has been made, traditional knowledge digital library. Similar kind of database to be made in Nepal, so uh, we can regroup, we can collect all the existing traditional knowledge throughout Nepal and make a good database. So it will be help us. It will help us in the future for research as well as for in case of IPR. And another thing is incorporation of TMK in the mainstream healthcare system, both for the service of the people, also to for the recognition of a traditional medical system. And finally, I would like to, this is a short acknowledgement, Professor Kedar Lalmina, Achudi Samita and Siddhanta, Vaidya Ashit Kumar Panja, and Dr. Rishiram Koirala for encouraging me into this field of traditional knowledge where very few researchers in the sector of Ayurveda are working there. I would like to thank IMDF-Nepal for this opportunity and Dr. Bamdev Suvari for the pictures and also for some encouragement to work in this field. Thank you. With this, I conclude my presentation. Over to Prerak.
Sir, Dr. Abhisek, it was very much a good presentation, and we're taking all the suggestion and the comments from our webinar too. So please, if you have a question, just raise your hand and make you make your question here. So we'll be taking at the last of the session, and we will be making a discussion over the forum. So nextly, I would like to go for the presentation from Dr. Rishiram Koirala. So Dr. Rishiram Koirala is a renowned Ayurveda consultant in Kathmandu, Nepal. He is currently working as a medical director at the Ayurveda Health Center, and which is affiliated to Pokhara and Kathmandu. He is the director of the Standing Committee of World Outstanding Medical Doctor Association. He was the chairperson of the National Ayurveda Research and Training Center, Kirtipur, Nepal, which is the renowned research institute of Ayurveda for Nepal. He has a research-based long experiences as a vice president of Nepal Health Research Council. He was a pioneer person to conceptualize the traditional knowledge in NHRC. We can see a lot of framework and booklets for the traditional knowledge in the library of the NHRC. He has visited to more than 25 countries and provided a lot of research experiences here in here. So I would like to call to the Dr. Rishi Ram sir, and so Rishi Ram sir, are you there?
I like to thank to Abhisek, Dr. Abhisek and Dr. Prerak and Prashanta for the beginning, because this my journey of Ayurveda has been more than 40 years, and now the young doctors are coming to cope or taking the following the traditions, how to keep the Ayurveda into the research and all this. Intellectual property rights in relation to Ayurvedic and TM resources in Nepal. In this context, I will present some of the slides, and I will be very much happy to talk to the friends if they ask the questions to Prerak or how, I have no idea. So now the next slide. What is intellectual property rights? What is IPR? WIPO classification, trade-related intellectual property rights, tree plant variation protection, right over biological resources, benefit sharing. This all definition you can go to the take different references and can read about that. And now the Ayurveda is a prehistoric legend, as Dr. Abhisek mentioned about this. Especially Nepal has got three traditions. Apart from the Abhisek ideas, presentation, situation, status, there is a traditions of schooling system, there is a traditions of Banaprastha system, and there is another tradition into the ruler system, like from Indra's time, Shiva's time to the another traditions. We have in Nepal or in the mountain Himalayan terrain, there were like 52 eminent scholars were sitting over here in the certain areas of the Himalayas and meditating, and the system was developed. And we can see this system in many different references in Nepal. Nepal at this point, what are the resources of Nepal? Resources are the codified knowledge and non-codified knowledge. As the Abhisek told, codified knowledge is more than 4,500 manuscripts are there in Nepal. Non-codified knowledge traditions are by the World Bank status. That time we did the appraisal survey, and that time this was a 400,000 traditional knowledge holders, and some of them were the practitioners. Plant diversity of Nepal is more than 3,500 specific plants, and which are quite indigenous to the Himalayan terrain and Nepal, and Ayurveda and traditional medical practices which are largely covering up the country of the Nepal. And resources potential for these, all the resources are potential for the health service challenges. It is a very interesting challenge into the global scenario. If we look to the last 30 years or 40 years, there are a lot of new emerging diseases are coming. Now this challenge of the coronavirus, COVID-19, and now the challenges of the immunocompromising diseases. And there is a challenge of a lot of drug resistance into the biomedical system, and there is a lot of challenges how to meet, how to cope. That's why there has been a several discussion in WHO also, and in the all intellectual property rights in CERO, in the different regional government level or mistake level, but still there has not been mainstream to the system. That's why these old traditional medicines can deal with the health services challenges at some level. And drug innovation, just like at this moment, there is a lot of resources are being put into the like a vaccination to find out for COVID, but still there are so many antiviral drugs into the traditional medicine, especially into the medicinal plants and other practices, which are very much giving into the resources put, technical know-how given, scientific collaboration, and doing. Just like last time I was delivering lecture to the television, and I was suggesting that why not to have a quick meeting of the scientists of Nepal to take lead to find out something for the new emerging diseases like the COVID. But there are still the challenges of non-infectious diseases around the world also. There is a and technological development. This is a one of the technique, skill, or product development. These are the very much important into the Ayurvedic or the traditional people's resources system. Resources can be medicinal plant, resources can be skill or technological skill, resource can be a medicinal product. These all are the resources, and conservation of knowledge and practice, how to do and how to help to the economic boost for the country, and utilization for the betterment for the country as an economic, as a health service challenges. And innovation of drug recipes, identifying the origin concept of and technology, the development of native technology and valid references, the hypothesis or leading points for research, product development, design and research, the intellectual property rights and its regime, and the exploration as a wealth of the nation. Let me give you a very easy example. Nowadays, the turmeric has been globally accepted many years before, like Texas Bacata. This was the original text which explained the Charaka Samhita. And I was going to the Paris to arbitrate into a big conference that from where this hypothesis has been generated. And there are so many things as a medicine, herbal medicine, or as a Ayurvedic medicine, as a food, as a technique, as a many things. Like you will be so wondered that in '96, when I was coming back from Japan, I was given a part of a earthen part of a bio enhancer syrup or paste like this. It was a jar. In Nepali, we call jar. And the rice was from Kathmandu Valley, and the marcha, the fermentative stuff, from Solokhumbu, and the earthen pot was from Bhaktapur. These are so many things which has been never been put into the one research streamlining in Nepal. That's why they are the resources. And if we look to the importance of IPR, IPR importance is like so. It can be a conservation of knowledge and practice, and IPR research development. Okay. Actually what was the thing is that in my screen I'm not seeing the complete slide. Maybe you people are seeing. That's why there is not a difficult for me to see. And TM resources importance in relation to IPR. So health service challenges, this I mentioned, IPR research and development. Identify and clustering the invention that have distinct possibilities of being commercially worked. These are technical, building and strengthening the core technical and scientific competencies of its various research group, and exploiting the external and internal technology relationship by linkages, creating linkages between the participation of national and international research and development programs to benefit innovation system, and identifying and documenting traditional knowledge for resources for external protection or scrutinizing, filing of non-original and capturing the knowledge, IP declaration form, and the lab notebook. Let me give you an example. Last 70 years, how much medicinal plants being patented by other country outside the Nepal. Nepal has been largely misappropriated for this knowledge, and still now this is going on. You will be wonder that how many archaeological manuscripts has been taken out from here, other country. We share a lot of literature between Nepal and India, but India has got a very strong IPR system and the regime, and they have a network, they have resources, and everybody is there. But Nepal is not sharing knowledges together in terms of the intellectual property rights, like Moulenbelt, who published the Ayurveda book from the Holland. There are so many textbooks. Original textbook of Charak Samhita was from Nepal, the written manuscript, and original written manuscript of Kashyap Samhita was from here. I can give several such names, just like Nigella sativa was patented in France, and there is a patent of the high altitude wheat from Jumla, which Latin name it is, last name is Nepalensis, which was patented in France. There are so many patent has been already done. That's why a lot of resources has been capitalized, misappropriated, and pirated by the other countries. So now, steps of IPR. The major steps of IPR, as we all know about the documentation, either to the codified knowledge or non-codified knowledge. It has to be very well. There is a special regime system by the old intellectual property rights system also.
Excuse me, sir. Yeah, just
are you not listening?
Yeah. You are on the summary slide, sir.
Yeah,
can you just make previous slide? Yeah, you are talking about the steps of IPR, so that was on the last slide. Can you just make a?
That's why steps of
Yeah, okay, fine, sir, fine. Thank you, sir.
step of IPR.
Yes,
Now
sir.
is
Thank you.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
documentation is a major step. The documentation has to be done well documented. There are procedure, how to make logbook, how to make all the data's declaration forms, and these all systems are there. Because when I was like a board of director and the uh, uh, vice chairman of the Nepal Health Research Council, we have designed some guideline for this. There is a policy guidelines, but still it is not a government as a whole government policy of Nepal. This was only Nepal Health Research Council. Recently, some policies has been designed because it is a work of last 20 years. Because I have been involved as a genetic resource thematic group in the Ministry of Forestry, but still Biodiversity Act has not come. All the guidelines has not come. That's why there is a very much lacking into the government initiative in Nepal. Though we have been done the rectification of the Nagoya Protocol. Nagoya Protocol, it is international binding regulations. Those has been parliament rectified, but we do not have a national law. Though we have designed the Kirtipur National Ayurveda Research and Training Center, the main objective was this, which was the 2003. I was one of the member to presentation and to design all the proposal, and the Chinese government has supported us to do this large institution. But still now, this has not been properly made into the mainstream. Dear friends, what I was there nearly for 1.5 years as a chairman, and whole our team, we have designed for the throughout the country for the 75 district in those time to make the how the Ayurvedic manpowers and all the other forestry and other manpowers to make the documentation, as Dr. Abhisek was saying about the documentation of this knowledge in terms of the codified, non-codified. You can just look one of the booklet as a rapid appraisal booklet I published from the Nepal Health Research Council also. So steps of IPR is a one major step which normally what happens with the documentation, that what is our native indigenous knowledge, it is called non-aligned and aligned species of the medicinal plant, sui generic plant, sui generic practices. There are a lot of different regulations or definitions are there, because intellectual property rights or trade related intellectual property rights or CBD or UPOB, are there are several other institutions globally working on it, which have given a lot of different definition about that. And protecting the knowledge has to be protect, and exploiting the the knowledge base and operational research and development. This intellectual property rights, as I was saying, is a legal instrument. It is a legal instrument, but there are to fulfill the legal bindings. What are the other provisions? How to do into the step wise to make into the certain parameters to fulfill and come into the level of by benefit sharing or protect the knowledge into that level. We have to do this one. So now I like to go for a summary. Importance of IPR can be summarized as uh, summarize as promote innovation and inventive steps. There can be a farmer, just like Kani tribes of India, as artimation also was taken out from the tribes of the southern part of Andaman and Nicobar of India, but finally China has got a biggest role to identify the anti-malarial drug, which is called artimazine. That's why there has been such a innovation or inventive steps. Basically, these traditional medicines of Nepal, there is a lot of hypotheses can be regenerated. Just like a couple of years before, maybe 15 years before, in the Times there was an article published. If we send 100 scientists into the forest and to find out the which plant can be effective for what, none of the scientists were able, hardly two, maybe 1% of knowledge they could utilize there. But if we send to the one traditional healer to the forest nearby or other part of the area, they can find 98% of the plants they can utilize for the certain disease. Who is the researcher in the knowledge? who is the scientist in this context? There has been a lot of misappropriation of these people. And even though they are called the poor people, even though they are called the uneducated people, and they are neglected like this from the global context also. Though in the country context also they are neglected. Nobody knows about the Asagumba until now. Just like a couple of years before, when I was in the 90s, when I was in 94 in Japan, I saw they were processing, our doctor was processing in a small room, making the Ersagumba as a capsule, as a aphrodisiac, what the government of Nepal did for 10 years, banning this one. That's why there is a lot of innovation, lot of what is called inventive steps, and there is a lot of hypothesis. This is not only about the plant, even also the product, even also the technology, even also the skill. This has been not been utilized by the country as such. That's why, dear friends, disclose of inventions for further research. There are certain areas how to guideline to the people to bring into the streamlining research and get the benefit for the community, larger community of the globe, and benefiting to the community as such, or the resource holder person as such, along with the scientist. This has to be done. Dissemination of the fruits of innovating for the benefits of the great general public, and compensate the inventors for his effort and time and money and intellect used for research. This has to be done because knowledge has been traded, knowledge has been utilized. 1963, Silajit was patented by the British people, and there has been many books since the 1987, 1980, 1870. There has been several groups come into the Nepal in the time of the East India Company or afterwards. There are several field researcher has come to the Nepal to do this one. Dear friends, listen, those who are listening here, and so this scope of nature and scope of intellectual property rights has to be properly understood. And there are a couple of things to understand is that comprise the general exclusive right is one, and in some cases an intellectual property rights cannot be exclusive right, which is the knowledge is community based. That's why this has to be understood. Proper guidelines has to be proper, benefit law has to become, benefit sharing laws and equity sharing laws has to come to Nepal. But unfortunately this has not been come into the Nepal. So my dear friends, there is a IPR itself is a constant evolution process. It is not a one-time process. It has to be evaluated because if we see into the Indonesia and Malaysia, there are in one building, 500 people were living and all the time watching what is going on around the world. Because now recent innovation into the technology or all information IT technology, every step, every hour, every minutes, there is a new inventive steps are happening. But so far for the traditional knowledge of Nepal, particularly India is quite rich, Sri Lanka is quite able, China no doubt, and Thailand or Indonesia, Malaysia, or even the Europe, even Latin American countries, they have done a huge work. It started from 1990 because from GATT to WTO, this was the right uh, means global steps to step further. But in Nepal, we have signed 2002 the WTO, but where we stand, we do not stand anywhere, my dear friends. That's why IPR has to be international protection of intellectual property rights, TRIP agreement, copyright and related rights, patent and exclusive right granted for an invention, utility model, patent on plant varieties, many international agreement on patents, geographical indications, unfair competition, including trade secrets, unfair competition, including trade secrets, and protection of folklore and exploration of folklore to be protected. But we, unfortunately, from 2002 to until now, nothing has been done. As far so far in my open exposure to the intellectual property rights, related rights, I was acquainted or given the knowledge by my professor 1988. From that time, I have been a orator. I have been a very, very difficult phase. Like me, other friends of Nepal also face the same problem. That's why IPR system, as a legal instrumentation, the management has to come as a legal instrument has to become technical know-how has to be given, business has to be explored, what are the business way viable. It was the Doha protocol which established the trade related intellectual property rights and export, financial relationship, accounting, taxation, insurance, security, automation, and personnel. This all has to be coined into one multidisciplinary setup. That's why then only we can protect our knowledge or exploit. Then IP system has to be, and dear friends, IP system has to have a essential tool for managing such intangible assets, managing IP in one business, and provides the ultimate power in making a global competition and entrepreneurship. Enterprises has to come forward. And basic message through this time, I like to say IP should be an integral part of overall business strategy of the enterprise, because ultimately it reflects to the economy of the people. It has to come as a product of the country, and the IP strategy of an enterprises enterprises has to come is influenced by its creativity, innovation capacity, financial resources, field of technology, competitiveness, and environment, etc. So IPR country context, there has been hardly any effective system applied in the terms of health related intellectual property rights system as a protection or promotion tools. Somehow health ministry has been completely, Nepalese health ministry ignore this system as a whole. I should say that this is the one system who can give as an indigenous system to initiate the innovation, research, and all this. Biodiversity regulation are there, but health ministry has not been at all exercises in this issue. So finally, I like to say that national IP strategy enterprises has to have a key elements: innovation policy, education policy, export policy, taxation policy, cultural policy, and a small medium entrepreneurship development policy, which can promote the people from rural areas to the city area, because Nepal needs a protecting law for the Nepalese people, those who are living either in Jumla or any part of the country, either in Kirtipur or any part of the countries from east to west, north to south. So thank you for all. Myself, now I'm working as a medical director. I have been working as a international committee for scientific committee as a chairman for 2002 to 2004. Now my age is crossed 60 already, but I'm feeling much more happy with the new generation is taking lead on it. I can provide a lot of information what I know. There are much more pen keeping, pen wearing intellectual who are 70s or 80s in this country. That's why, my dear friends, let us have something to have such type of forum where we can discuss multidisciplinary discuss, and particularly Ayurvedic young generation has to come forward to understand this one. The more technicalities and more doing into the stepwise, and those stepwise, you can ask me the questions. Some of the things we can discuss. This discussion can be a series of discussion for the future. Thank you very much. Now, Prerak, you can take the load.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your presentation. So now we are going to the discussion session. So we will be very much grateful for your comments. We have a lot of comments on the dashboard. So yeah, sir, thank you very much, sir. So we had a question. So we had a question from some of the viewers. Is responding to the Dr. Abhisek Tamrakar. So the question is there any difference between the traditional knowledge and product in India and Nepal? So what is the differences between them? Dr. Abhisek.
Okay, actually, India has their own traditional system, traditional medical system, and Nepal has its own traditional medical system. The main thing about India and Nepal, what we share in common is Ayurveda. The type of, now, if we talk about Ayurveda, India, the main traditional medical system in India is also Ayurveda. The same is in Nepal. But the way we understand, the way the things are different in inside Ayurveda also. Like in if you go just look only into India, then the northern Indian tradition and the South Indian tradition is completely different. The same thing is in the understanding of Ayurveda in Nepal. The codified as we have been talking, the codified version, those who have studied the text, especially those who have come from university education, from schooling stuff, schools, they have their own way of understanding Ayurveda, and those who have who have been practicing from generations, they have their own understanding of Ayurveda. There is slightly difference in the understanding of Ayurveda in between the India and Nepal. But if you look at other traditional systems, certain things we share is common, like the concept of Maulana in Unani, that is in India and Nepal, is nearly same, because we share the same traditional and cultural things between in that group, especially in the Muslim community. Apart from that, what India has, it's India. They have their own other traditional medical systems, like they have Rasavaidya Parampara, they have Nari Vaidya Parampara inside Ayurveda also. Apart from that, there are other traditional healing systems, and Nepal has its own. So certain things are common, and if we say a majority things in traditional medical systems are different in between India and Nepal. Okay, Prerak.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Rishi sir. So do you feel any differences between the traditional
Yeah.
system in India and Nepal? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat the question? I could not listen it.
Okay. So what is the differences on the
Can you
traditional
repeat
system?
it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Is there any
yeah,
differences between the traditional
you are
system
asking.
of medicine?
You are asking the. Yeah.
Is it audible, sir?
Yeah, audible.
Okay. Is there any differences in the traditional system
Yeah.
of medicine in Nepal? That is the question, sir.
So you are talking the difference between Nepal and India about the traditional system of medicine?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now let me give you some example. In India also, if we see into the northern territory or the far eastern territory or the southern territory, there has been a very different diversity about the practices. That's why what is happening to Nepal also, some of the terrain of the Nepal into the high mountain terrain like Soropa and mountain terrain are having the different Tibetan type of practices. In the central has got a different, and Tarai has got. But principally saying Ayurveda system as a whole, there is not a difference between India and Nepal. But sometime, according to the climate, according to the people culture, according to the different variety of what is called the rituals and all this, there can be difference. But principally, Ayurvedic system of Nepal and India is no differences into that. But government initiative is markedly different. We are still into the 2%, and India is 100%, we can say, because there is a lot of resources, lot of scientists, lot of money is being poured since 90, and especially last 10 years, or especially last 6 years, has been much more importance given into the traditional system of medicine in India.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer. So there is one doubt. There is one question that is So in the India, there is a good intellectual property system, intellectual property right. So if the if that strong IPR system that may pose a threat to the Nepalese Ayurveda IPR growth, that is the question, sir. So the question is both of you.
So as I have gone through the intellectual property rights law or Biodiversity Act in India in 96, there has been an initiative by the group of scientists from the CSIR and the CCRAS and ICMR all were sitting together. Professor Mesalkar was the main orator scientist from the ICCR. He was coming CSIR. He was the front. So I have been several time meetings with him, and as I came to know, I have gone the references of those textbook as the government gazettes, which has been printed out. And 96, I have seen those gazettes in a very thoroughly explain about the Biodiversity Act, and they have formed the National Innovation Center, and they have formed the National what is called Medicinal Plant Board also afterwards, not in 96. But what it seems that they have a very strong public, government, institutional, research institutional, and scientist backup. Those sort of backup, India has put money into that as an integrated resource. If you see, the ICMR has published book into the 96 or 98. The series of book from 90 to that time. They have published a medicinal plant book, which is never you can see in Nepal. That's why the government of India has put so much resources, and in the whole thrust has been focused into a one streamlined year. But Nepal has missed it whole system. That's why we are many of knowledge, skill, product, and technology we are sharing between Nepal and India. And our archaeological centers, books were sharing between Nepal and India. But India has given a 7 international languages. They have registered the book into the WIPO in Geneva. You will be wonder 7 different languages. Now anybody who wants to do any exercise or apply any inventive step or wants to say innovation, India can arbitrate. This has been already 15 years now, or exactly date I do not know, but you can see WIPO has done such a great resources globally and India nationally. But Nepal, we share common knowledge, we are not there. We share common text, we are not there. Some of the texts were uniquely found in Nepal because India has been like by the 3rd century or 4th century, there has been a very much difficult time, even earlier than that. And Nepal itself has one document written in the Bhojpatra, written into the different stone or even the metals we can find into the different patras. But what we do not have our own national law for that. This is the one situation we are having.
Dr.
Thank you.
Abhisek, would you some points?
Dear Prerak, you can proceed.
Yeah, Dr. Abhisek.
Yes, Prerak.
Would you like to add some points on this question? The question was the IPR in the India, it is almost strong, and that was is there any threat of IPR system of India, and we have a very much weak IPR system. So is there any threat, or we have to go along with for the development or for the production of our traditional systems?
As Dr. Rishiram Koirala sir said, India has been putting a lot of resources. Last 6 years, actually, if you look at the sector of Ayurveda and traditional medicine, these 6 years is the time where traditional medicines and especially Ayurveda has flourished a lot in India.
with the input of resources, with funding, and even with the dedication of the government, like policies. They have made policies, they have dedicated their resources, policies, and everything for the upliftment of the traditional system. As a part of which, the main thing is that the IPR section is also very strong. Another thing, when it comes to Nepal, obviously, when it comes to IPR, especially related with the traditional medicines, the traditional common medicine which we share, India and Nepal, I think Nepal might be losing if we don't do something substantial in this sector. Like Dr. Rishiram sir was saying, that the Biodiversity Act India has that. They have a National Medical Plant Board also. But what do we have? We have nothing actually. We have a council that looks after Ayurveda. We have a department of these plant resources that is more concentrated on their let's say into the modern system of plant resources, but they have not yet been able to incorporate Ayurveda manpower or the traditional knowledge which we store. For example, sir was giving a very good example of artemisia. Artemisia, still Nepal is exporting different kinds of artemisia, whether it is in the form of oil or it is in the form of moxa to various countries throughout the world. And another thing about artemisia is that artemisia has been used locally for various kinds of uh, illnesses. Like in the western part of Nepal, artemisia is used for in case of ingo's breast. They apply a paste of artemisia over uh, ingo's breast, and it's very useful. Like this kind of traditional knowledge, in the long run, if we don't do something substantial, we will be losing to India, and that is nearly sure if we do nothing. Dr. Prerak, now it's over to you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you for the answers, both of the speakers. So one question is very much interesting. So we have observed that some of the friends was talking. So in the far west region, there is a traditional practitioner, and he wants to document those things. Even the researchers in far western region, they wants to do something on the traditional knowledge. So this question is both of you, the speakers. So how can we effectively do the screening, document those traditional knowledge from outside as being Ayurveda doctors?
Okay, let me give you one very systematic procedure on it very shortly. First of all, what he has to do, or they have to do, whosoever wants to do, to document the knowledge, either it is in the codified form or non-codified form. It is called the status review. It has to be whole area where this knowledge exists. And if the practices are there, which they want to establish those practices, second is that they have to verify the practices if the people are living with certain disease or certain problem, disease-wise. If they have been used those as a medicine, those practices why. And another is that the plant species which they are having been used, they have also to mention that one. But and the third one is that after when this as a documentation comes, documentation through the audiovisual, documentation through the paper, when it comes, then the present status has to be documented. If someone is using this plant for that purpose, particularly for that disease, then how many people are consuming that one? The present status statement has to come with a audio visual form, with a proper it is called proper form, that we were talking in Geneva as a what is called black box design, that one. The fourth stage is that all the scientists related to medicinal plant, related to Draviguna or Ayurvedic different discipline people has to come together, and regarding those who are textual references coding Ayurvedic doctors or other scientists has to come together and see the possibility of this plant where has been referred. This can be referred as a main textual book, as a traditional, or as, since we can see that those of the anthropological, medical anthropological, or social scientist people were mentioning those practices in their book, and those references has to come into the one place. Then what happens that then the another group of scientists has to come together. Those are the clinician, microbiologist, or phytochemistry or whatever, and along with the Ayurvedic different specialists has to come together. Then only what happens that ultimately on every step this has to be intellectual property rights, benefit sharing law has to be applied in every steps. Then only we can benefit share at last. That's why this procedure is very clear, because when we were discussing in World Health Organization in Geneva, when I was also presenting into the World Intellectual Property Rights, that time a very strong debates were there. If you see the initial document of WIPO and see after the 10 years, and now Abhisek Professor Panja is there in Geneva. That's why these people are very much knowledgeable about those of the textual references and all this. That's why this very well, our people, those who are living into the any part of the country, either in the far west or north or whatever, if they wants to come into the mainstream research, our Kirtipur institution has to be taken the lead. National Ayurveda Research and Training Institute. The main objective of that institution is that. But unfortunately, what is happened in this country is that institution is not fulfilling their goal, their objective. So far, we have designed those things for 5-year time period. We can give certain product. Unfortunately, this political jargon has seriously damaged to the country's resources. Thank you for this.
Dr. Abhisek, is there
Maybe
any
Abhisek
point
can
of
put.
yeah, Dr. Abhisek, is there any yeah?
As Dr. Rishi Ishar had said, like the main thing is that the first thing, the traditional healers, if they want to get it documented, whatever they have, that there are certain stages as sir has proposed. But first thing is that in case of traditional medicine, I think the Department of Ayurveda and Alternative Services, Alternative Medicine is preparing a database of the traditional practitioners. I think uh, those steps are there for that. Those are for individual thing. I think my personal opinion is that I think first of all we should be able to make a database of all those, whatever they are. Just make a database of traditional healers, traditional practitioners, those who are practicing in each nook and corner of our country. Let's make a database, and then the stage of verification of their knowledge, because we will know how many people are there. Let's make a certain uh, criteria for that. I think the Department Ayurveda is working on that, how to recognize them and how to prepare a database. If we can do that, then a gradual decoding of their knowledges, validation of their knowledges can be done. But for an individual, we need to go through all the spaces, and as Dr. Koirala was saying, we always need a audio visual as well as a written proof for everything we do, because that would be the best thing when that would be our proof for further evaluation as well as for presenting for any IPR or for any patent or any other rights. These are the things we should be doing.
Okay, thank you. So yeah. So next question is there from direct to Dr. Abhisek. So is there any non-qualified medical practices which need to be limited or stopped instead of endorsing? For example, he has given the example midwife practice, as you mentioned, seems to be less beneficial and risks in the term of the scientific approach. So such
Which one?
practices need to be limited. Yeah, a
Which
midwife
craft?
practice. Yes, please.
No, actually, if you look, the main thing, the practice of traditional midwife, main thing is that they have this a very good system there. But the main thing is that we never try to promote it. We never try to protect it, neither preserve their knowledge. So gradually the practice has been depleting. Okay, the knowledge has been depleting, the practice is being depleting. So as a result of which now the scientific approach is not there. But how do we do that? Which part of their knowledge can be very beneficial for the society? Not each and every part. Like in case of malpresentation, malpositioning of the figures, they have this very good skill of manual manipulation. We can bring that
I
thing,
think
those
Prerak,
knowledge into the mainstream.
Yes, sir.
uh,
Sir.
Are you
Doctor?
Prayer?
Yeah, listening. Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Would you like to add something, sir?
Hello.
Yeah, are you?
Let me
Would you
give you
like
a
to add something?
beautiful example of a lady from Hetona, a Nevari family
Okay, okay,
lady.
sir.
She she is a
Okay,
by profession. Yeah, there is a
Oh,
lady
nice.
from Hetona, the Nevari family lady. She was an engineer by profession, and she came to Kathmandu as an engineer, and she married with a Swiss man. And in Switzerland, she
Okay.
was practicing as a baby massage therapist, and she was giving so much knowledge, and she published 2 books, and she has been training. She was immediately after the birth, she was giving the massage training to the nurses, midwife in Switzerland, and she started to give the practice in Kathmandu University in Dhulikhel Hospital. Now what is happened,
Yes,
that
sir.
knowledge has
Physical
been
also.
come from Nepal, originally gone to the Switzerland, and this German speaking area, Switzerland, Austria or Germany. She has been trained several hundreds of women for that. Now she is training since last 3 years, time to time coming over here, and Dhulikhel Hospital she is giving training. So this is a traditional midwife knowledge, which is a big gray area where they have a skill of delivering as a normal delivery to the pregnant woman. Now we do several cases of cesarean section. We never evaluate the side effect of the cesarean section as a child, and we left the natural birth. But still in Europe, still in entire Europe, they initiate the natural birth, and this see woman traveling to all the universities, hospitals, and everywhere. The question is that acceptance by the government legal procedure. None of the Ayurvedic doctor, mainstreaming people are bringing those people, because our approach was that we should do the Kirtipur National Ayurveda Research and Training Institutions. Main objective was this: the herbal resource, traditional knowledge and technology, skills and products has to be come into the scientific forum. Like in Sri Lanka, you can see very different there, because there in the hospital there are traditional healers. They can come, and the authority of the doctors and everybody sit over there, and they can practice. And that was the main what is called objective of the WHO, to say black box design, which was quite difficult to put that design into the research methodology in WHO when we were there, from India, from Sri Lanka, from other countries of Sero. And I was also there as an individual to discuss about this deer. That's why there is a lot of benefits out of it. But unfortunately, the knowledge is already eroded, knowledge already gone. And we cannot find those people who are having such a rich knowledge in this country. Unfortunately, resources of our text has been gone to the other country. They capitalize it. And now our future generation, if you young scientists, Ayurvedic physicians and the doctors, if you do come forward and lead about this, I will be very happy. And this is not for me, for the country's sake. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Dr. Abhisek, you were just telling something in beauty.
Actually, I was also
Prerak, you
on
can
the
go
way
ahead.
of. Yes.
Okay, sir.
I
Dr.
was also
Abhisek.
going to example. I was also going to give this example of that lady from Hitoda. Sir gave that example. The main thing what Sir said, see, our knowledge is so rich, but we have not been able to harness it. We have been living. The same thing is that postpartum massage, the the tradition we have of postpartum massage after the delivery of the child, giving massage all to the mother. These also has been practiced in Germany and all those areas. People who were married to those countries took their these masseurs to massage therapists to their place, and it has been propagating there, and it has been propagated as traditional Niwari massage, the same one as Dr. Koirala was saying about that Switzerland lady. Yeah, I also read that news in, I think it was in the Republica, when she came to Nepal and she was giving training to the bachelor students in Dhudikel in Kathmandu University. So there are these, actually we need to see there are certain things in traditional knowledge which we can harness, we can modify it, or we can use those knowledge to bring it into the mainstream healthcare delivery system. The concept of traditional this midwives, or Sudeni we used to call, the actual word is Sudeni we use in Nepali. They have been doing that. Not every places in Nepal doctors are available, or trained skilled birth attendants are available. So these are the person who have been doing this from ages. But the knowledge is depleting, as Dr. Koirala said. It is eroding, and we are losing our tradition there, or we are losing our traditional medical knowledge there. So it is very necessary to take the necessary steps as soon as possible. Okay, over to Prerak.
Okay, thank you. So thank you both the speakers.
And
I think everything, the comments here, I think everybody is satisfied with the answers. And now I would like to go with some few 5 to 10 minutes discussion more. Then we will quit off the sessions. Uh, exactly, we have a lots of institution in our country. Even the Ayurveda, we have our research center, we have a council, and different educational bodies are there. So what steps can we do from those institutions to promote those traditional knowledge, or to protect and to document those traditional knowledge that has the potential for intellectual property? Dr. Rishi, I would like to start from you.
just like the lady who was we were talking about, the Swiss Nepali lady from Swiss. She has been 3 times in my center over here. She has given me the book also. But what we can do, what must be the guideline, uh, policy guideline or a step forward, is that Kirtipur institution has to stop all other unusual activity, has to set up the goal for 5 years to find out scientifically to prove. And science, what, this is not a chapter here to discuss. They have to have a 20, what is called the 77 countries survey immediately, not do has to do as a national documentation. And this documentation has 2 phases. One is that one is a documentation, one is verification. Documentation, one is a registry, one is a documentation, has to be legally announced. And then based on that, they have to classify what research priority areas are there. This I will not discuss here. Government institution, particularly service institution, they have to incorporate lot of therapeutic tools, and those tools has to be mature, experimented, or documented properly, and allowed to give those tools or practicing tools to the throughout the country to practice. Now this time of the corona COVID-19, there is a lot of new researches, new initiation, new demand is there about the immunity. Immunity has to be discussed properly. The government of Nepal has to do a serious step that what sort of thing Nepal can do. They have to identify their goal, and they have to give at least 5 years budget to the National Ayurvedic Research and Training Institute. They have been handicapped by the budget. There is a hardly any budget for the staff also, for the scientist also. In my feeling, Kirtipur National, what is called the Ayurvedic Institute, academic institute, either Kirtipur or Dan, has to go into the lot of areas of Ayurveda, has been out, not incorporated into the Ayurvedic academia. So academia has to go into those things. Only here is a lot of uh, attitude now, differences or misconception towards the doctors, is that whether this is our system things or not. Let me give you an example, is that any system which is scientifically, means I'm not saying by Western medical scientifically, but any system, any practice which is benefit for the people, this can be practiced. That's why Ayurvedic doctors has to be, academia has to come forward. In my feeling, those things are very immediate step has to become. But there is a still lot of back force is required. I'm hoping that you young scientist or the physician has to come forward to push to the government authorities and those things to come forward, because this is a country's worth, country's knowledge, and country can really surely give benefit for the country. Now, these are my few words. Other things we can discuss next time.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Dr. Abhisek, before I go to the same point, so I would like to add things. So, the education and awareness of IPR is very much important. I think. So, the traditional knowledge is also a big topic, and the people are not aware about the knowledge of this thing, importance of this thing. So, what do you suggest in this regard? So, our academic, how can they can promote the education and awareness of traditional knowledge and even the potential for their IPR?
In
Dr.
case of
Abhisek.
academic area, okay, yeah, thank you, Prerit. In case of academic area, like we have nearly every year nowadays, 100, nearly approximately 100 Ayurvedic doctors are coming into the market. Okay, they are coming into the field. They graduate every year. Apart from the post-graduation, those who are doing post-graduation in India and Nepal. The main thing is that when you talk about Ayurveda, first, the main thing is that the upcoming doctors should have faith in the on science first. We as an Ayurvedic physician, are we practicing according to Ayurvedic principles? That is the biggest question. Or are we a quack? We are diagnosing patients on the basis of allopathic principle, correlating it with Ayurveda, and treating the patients with Ayurvedic medicines. Or are we diagnosing the patient on the principle and the text, on the basis of the text and on the basis of the things that has been told in our texts and our principles? This is the first thing. Then only we can talk about uplifting the sector. Another thing, as Dr. Koirala Rishiram sir was saying, the Prime Institute for Research, that is NARTC, Nepal Ayurveda Research and Training Center. This is the Prime Institute for Research. They have to prioritize. They have to prioritize the area they want to do research instead of running a hospital. They are basically running a hospital only, and other very few trainings are going on, but no research work. Another important thing is the policy level. The Department of Ayurveda should take an initiation in this, just as the Department of Ayush used to take in India, and now the Ministry of Ayush is taking. The DOA is the representative body for all the traditional medicine that is being practiced in Nepal. So DOA has to take a leadership role in formulating policies, formulating plans, bringing in research projects. This year they have at least brought something for manuscripts, and they are doing something to create a database of traditional leaders. Okay, they are into the right direction, but that's not enough. We need more works, more research works in this sector. Another thing is another important sector for traditional knowledge, for the upliftment of Ayurveda and the sector. A multidisciplinary approach is necessary with all the stakeholders. Whether if we are talking about traditional knowledge, then we need ethnomedical medicine. Those who have done their post-graduation in ethnomedicines, we need those groups together. We need botanists, we need research scientists, we need biotechnicians and biotechnologists who know of everything. We need a multi-dimensional approach for documentation and every other things. As sir was saying, certain steps has to be done. The first thing, as I have in the previous year, the first thing what we can do at present is try to create a national register first of all these traditional healers, and then after that we can. First year we are going to do with the national register. We are just going to prepare a national register. Second year we are going to assess their knowledge, record their knowledge and documentation. Third year or fourth year we are going to go for the verification of their knowledge, whether whatever they are practicing is according to Ayurveda principle or it is their own so Anubhuti yoga or their own experience what they have documented. So this way, if we go, we can make a very good registry, just as India has been doing in TKDL. We can make our own. Once we are able to do that, other steps after that will be a little bit more easier. But we have a very big political obstruction. We have a very big problem with the funding and also the resources, not just the funding. We do not have enough qualified Ayurveda doctors who are more interested into this field. So we need resources, we need fund, and dedication and commitment from the concerned authorities to work in this sector. Then only we can achieve something. Okay, Prerak, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are on the last minute. So lastly, the doctors. So what we need to do to promote the traditional knowledge? So please mention in the 2 points so that we can conclude in the all the session. Dr. Rishi.
I think there is a need of exercising more and more awareness building. If there is a mass of Ayurvedic doctors and the people to come together and discuss, I think that can guide to the national government, union government, or the aligned institution over here. My request to the aligned institution is that you have lose so much of time. You didn't know the value of the time. So please do not mistake this again. This is what happening for the country. And this is not only for one doctor or other. This is as a whole for the nation. Now reorientation is required. Thank you for this, Prerak. Thank you, Abhisek Doctor. So I feel happy that you
Thank you,
both
sir.
are coming forward into this field. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Abhisek, would you like to conclude with some of the few sentences? How to do promotion of the traditional knowledge?
First thing is we need a common understanding. We need a common ground. Okay, this work of traditional knowledge cannot be achieved by one person, two-person, or three-person. We need a common ground, a group of scholars, those who are dedicated in this sector. First thing is that once we have that, as Dr. Koirala was saying, we can lobby the government to make some policy changes. We need a think tank actually for this. Okay, a research center for this. Where we can work together with the government in formulating policies and other things. Another thing is that first thing always is awareness about the traditional medical systems. Awareness not just to the local population, but awareness to the persons who are practicing it, what they have and what they can give to the society and to the country. They should be aware with that, and we should be able to encourage them for knowledge sharing. And then gradually after that, we can go for registry, we can go for documentations. Finally, let's see if we work together can see a very bright future of traditional knowledge documentation and its validation in Nepal. And thank you, Prerak. Thank you, Rishiram sir, for your encouragement and your insight into all this, all the topic about traditional medicine and IPR. Thank you, Prerak.
Yeah, thank you, both of you, the speakers. So it's time to end the session. I think it was a fruitful session for all the viewers and all the commenters too. And thank you for all the special thanks to the organizing team. Ayurveda Health Home and the Integrative Medicine Development Foundation Nepal for this purpose. And I think you will get a short notification of the program after the session too. We will get some feedback also. Please go through the feedback and give us some of the suggestion to improve the program. And after a day, you will get a link to the presentation so that you can review the recorded version too. So it will be everything will be in our email. So we are tuning to the Facebook Live also. So how much clear it will be, we are not pretty sure. But you will be provided with a link after a day, and you can go to the recorded session. So thank you for your all the time, and you all the best. And we should be stay safe, and we should take care ourselves. Thank you all.